The retirement system in America is broken by design. Not accidentally broken, not temporarily broken, but deliberately engineered to keep you working until the day you die. And the evidence isn't hidden in some conspiracy theory or classified government document. It's sitting right in front of you in every paycheck stub, every 401k statement, every social security projection you've ever received. Right now, the average American has $65,000 saved for retirement. That's not a typo. $65,000 to fund 20 to 30 years of life after work. Meanwhile, the recommended retirement savings target sits at 1.2 million. We're not even close. We're not in the same universe. And this isn't happening because Americans are lazy or financially irresponsible. This is happening because the system was designed to fail you. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 mechanisms the government and corporations use to ensure you never retire. Not delay retirement, prevent it entirely. I'll show you how Social Security was structured to be inadequate from day one, how 401k plans were created to transfer wealth from workers to Wall Street, and how inflation systematically destroys your purchasing power faster than you can save. But here's what should terrify you most. These aren't bugs in the system, these are features. Deliberate policy choices made over decades to create a permanent working class that generates profit until death. And I'm going to prove it to you using the government's own data, the actual legislation, and the mathematical reality that most Americans refuse to face. Because once you see how this works, you'll understand why financial advisors keep telling you to save more, while the system ensures that more will never be enough. Let's start with Social Security, the program sold to Americans as retirement insurance but designed as the exact opposite. When Social Security launched in 1935, the average life expectancy was 61 years old. The retirement age was set at 65. Think about that math for a moment. The government created a retirement program that most people would never live long enough to collect. That wasn't an oversight, that was the business model. But here's where it gets really interesting. As life expectancy increased over the decades, did the government lower the retirement age to maintain the same ratio? Of course not. They raised it. The full retirement age is now 67 and climbing. They're moving the goalposts further away as you get closer to the end zone. And even if you do live long enough to collect, the benefits are mathematically insufficient. The average Social Security payment in 2024 is $1,907 per month. That's $22,884 annually. Try living on $23,000 a year. Try paying rent, utilities, food, healthcare, transportation on $23,000. It's impossible in most of America. Social Security isn't retirement funding, it's poverty prevention, barely. But the real genius of the system isn't the inadequate benefits. It's how they fund those benefits. Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. Current workers pay for current retirees. There's no investment account with your name on it. There's no trust fund growing with compound interest. Your Social Security taxes today pay for someone else's benefits today. And when you retire, you're depending on future workers to pay for your benefits. This creates a fundamental mathematical problem that gets worse every year. In 1945, there were 41 workers paying into Social Security for every retiree collecting benefits. By 1960, it was 5 workers per retiree. Today, it's fewer than 3 workers per retiree. By 2035, it'll be 2 workers per retiree. The math doesn't work. It never worked. It was designed not to work. The Social Security trustees, the people who manage the program, have been warning about this for decades. Their annual reports show the exact year the trust fund runs dry. That year is 2034, 10 years from now. When that happens, benefits automatically cut by 23%. Not maybe, automatically. It's written into the law. So that $1,907 monthly payment becomes $1,468. Try living on $17,000 a year. But here's the part they don't tell you. Even if Congress fixes the funding gap, which they probably will through higher taxes or later retirement ages, Social Security was never designed to be your primary retirement income. It was designed to replace 40% of your pre-retirement income. 40%. What do you do with the other 60%? That's where the second mechanism comes in. The 401k system, sold as retirement security but engineered as the greatest wealth transfer from workers to Wall Street in American history. Most people think 401k plans were created to help workers retire. That's not true. They were created to help corporations cut costs and Wall Street generate fees. Before 401k plans existed, most large employers offered pension plans. Defined benefit pensions. The company promised to pay you a specific amount every month for life after retirement. The company funded the pension, managed the investments, and bore all the risk. If the investments performed poorly, that was the company's problem. Your retirement income was guaranteed. But pensions were expensive for corporations. They represented long-term liabilities on balance sheets. Shareholders didn't like that. Wall Street didn't like that. So in 1978, Congress created Section 401k of the tax code. It was originally designed as a supplementary savings vehicle for highly paid executives, not a replacement for pensions. But corporations saw an opportunity. Why fund expensive pension plans when you could shift the responsibility to workers? Why guarantee retirement income when you could make it the employee's problem? So over the next 2 decades, corporations systematically eliminated pension plans and replaced them with 401k plans. This wasn't a gradual evolution. This was a coordinated transition. In 1980, 83% of large companies offered pension plans. By 2020, only 14% offered pensions. The 401k became the primary retirement vehicle for most Americans, and this created 3 massive problems that ensure most people will never accumulate enough to retire. Problem 1 is inadequate contributions. The average American contributes 6% of their salary to their 401k. Financial advisors recommend 15 to 20%, but most people can't afford 15%. They're living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in student loans, paying rent that consumes 40% of their income. Saving 6% feels like sacrifice. Saving 15% feels impossible. But even if you could save 15% your entire career, the math still doesn't work. Let's run the numbers. Average American salary is $59,000. 15% contribution equals $8,850 annually. Assume 7% annual returns, which is optimistic given fees and market volatility. After 40 years of contributions, you'd have approximately $2.1 million. Sounds good, right? Wrong. That's $2.1 million in future dollars, not today's purchasing power. With 3% annual inflation, which is conservative given recent history, that $2.1 million has the purchasing power of $650,000 in today's money. The 4% withdrawal rule, which financial planners use to determine sustainable retirement income, suggests you can safely withdraw $26,000 annually. Add that to your reduced Social Security benefit of $17,000, and you're living on $43,000 per year in today's purchasing power. You just worked 40 years, saved diligently, and your retirement income is $43,000 annually. That's poverty. That's not retirement. That's extending your working years until you physically cannot work anymore. But it gets worse. Those calculations assume everything goes perfectly. No job losses that force you to stop contributing or withdraw early. No market crashes that devastate your account right before retirement. No medical emergencies that drain your savings. No periods of high inflation that destroy your purchasing power faster than your investments can grow. The system is designed to fail at multiple points, ensuring that even disciplined savers never accumulate enough to stop working. And that brings us to the third mechanism, the one that makes all other saving efforts futile. Inflation, the invisible tax, that systematically destroys wealth faster than most people can create it. The Federal Reserve calls inflation a 2% target. They market it as price stability, as economic health, as necessary monetary policy. But inflation isn't a side effect of economic management. It's a wealth redistribution mechanism that transfers purchasing power from savers to debtors. And the largest debtor in human history is the United States government. When the government prints money, when they expand the money supply to fund spending they can't afford through taxes, that new money doesn't appear magically without consequence. It dilutes the value of every dollar you hold. Every dollar in your savings account, every dollar in your 401k, every dollar you've worked years to accumulate loses purchasing power as new dollars enter the system. This isn't theoretical, this is mathematical certainty. Since 1971, when Nixon ended the gold standard and made the dollar purely fiat currency, the purchasing power of the dollar has declined 96%. A dollar in 1971 required 96 cents to buy the same goods and services today. Your money has been systematically devalued for 50 years. But here's what makes this particularly devastating for retirement planning. Inflation compounds. Just like investment returns compound in your favor, inflation compounds against you. At 3% annual inflation, prices double every 23 years. At 4% inflation, prices double every 18 years. At the current inflation rates we've experienced since 2020, prices double every 14 years. This means that if you're 30 years old today and planning to retire at 67, prices will more than double during your working years. The purchasing power of every dollar you save today will be worth less than 50 cents when you need it most. Your retirement savings target isn't 1.2 million in today's dollars, it's 2.4 million in future dollars just to maintain the same standard of living. But it gets worse. Inflation doesn't affect all prices equally. The things you need most in retirement, healthcare and housing, inflate faster than the general price level. Healthcare costs have increased at twice the rate of general inflation for the past 20 years. Housing costs in most metropolitan areas have increased 3 to 4 times faster than wages. So while the government reports 3% inflation, your actual cost of living increases 6 to 8% annually. Your 401k earning 7% returns isn't keeping pace, it's falling behind. Every year, you're getting poorer in real terms even as your account balance grows in nominal terms. This is why the retirement crisis keeps getting worse, despite decades of financial education, despite automatic enrollment in 401k plans, despite employer matching programs. The system isn't broken. The system is working exactly as designed. The government benefits from inflation because it reduces their debt burden. Corporations benefit from a workforce that can never afford to retire. Wall Street benefits from managing trillions in 401k assets that generate fees regardless of performance. The only group that doesn't benefit is you. The worker who believed that saving 15% of your income for 40 years would provide financial security. The person who trusted that Social Security would supplement your retirement. The individual who assumed that following the conventional financial advice would lead to conventional retirement. But conventional retirement is disappearing. The statistics prove it. In 1985, the average retirement age was 62. Today, it's 65 and climbing. Not because people want to work longer because they have to work longer, because the system ensures they can never accumulate enough to stop. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that by 2030, 25% of the workforce will be over 55 years old. These aren't people choosing to work for fulfillment. These are people working because stopping means poverty. Working because their 401k was devastated by market crashes. Working because Social Security isn't enough to survive. Working because inflation destroyed the purchasing power of their savings. And here's the cruelest part. The longer you're forced to work, the more taxes you pay. The more you contribute to Social Security that you'll never fully collect. The more you participate in the system that's designed to extract wealth from your labor until you physically cannot labor anymore. Corporate America loves this. An aging workforce that can't retire means experienced workers accepting lower wages rather than facing destitution. It means no pension obligations. It means reduced healthcare costs because older workers often can't afford comprehensive coverage. It means a permanent labor supply that can't negotiate from positions of strength because they have no alternative. This is why major corporations eliminated pensions while simultaneously promoting 401k plans. This is why they offer employer matching that vests over years, ensuring that workers who change jobs forfeit benefits. This is why they structure compensation to discourage early retirement through benefits that only activate at specific ages. The government enables this through tax policy that favors current consumption over future savings. The tax advantages of 401k contributions are front-loaded. You get a deduction today, but pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement when you presumably need the money most. This isn't tax savings. This is tax deferral that often results in higher lifetime tax payments. Meanwhile, the wealthy use completely different strategies. They don't rely on 401k plans or Social Security. They use tax advantage structures that aren't available to ordinary workers. They invest in assets that appreciate faster than inflation. They generate income from capital rather than labor. They understand that the retirement system is designed for wealth extraction, not wealth creation. The evidence is overwhelming. The retirement system isn't failing accidentally, it's succeeding deliberately. Every mechanism, from inadequate Social Security to insufficient 401k savings to wealth-destroying inflation, works together to ensure that most Americans work until death. This isn't pessimism. This isn't conspiracy thinking. This is mathematical reality based on the actual structure of the system and decades of observable results. The numbers don't lie. The policies don't lie. The outcomes don't lie. But understanding how the system works gives you power to work outside the system, to recognize that conventional retirement advice is designed to benefit everyone except you, to see that the rules are rigged and that following rigged rules leads to predictable failure. The question isn't whether you can beat a rigged game. The question is whether you'll recognize it's rigged before it's too late. Because once you see the mechanisms clearly, once you understand that your poverty in retirement isn't a personal failure but a systemic design, you can start making decisions that work in your favor rather than theirs. The first step is abandoning the retirement timeline they've programmed into your mind. 65 isn't a magic number chosen by actuaries for your benefit. It's a number chosen to maximize the years you'll work while minimizing the years you'll collect benefits. The concept of traditional retirement, working 40 years then stopping, assumes a system designed to support that transition. But that system never existed for ordinary workers. What existed was a brief historical period, roughly 1950 to 1980, when strong labor unions, employer-funded pensions, and rapid economic growth created the illusion of widespread retirement security. But that period was an anomaly, not the norm, and the forces that created it have been systematically dismantled. Today's retirement system resembles the pre-1930s economy more than the post-war boom period. Before Social Security existed, before labor protections, before employer benefits, most people worked until they physically couldn't. The modern retirement crisis isn't new. It's a return to historical norms dressed up in the language of personal responsibility and financial planning. Understanding this changes everything about how you approach your financial future. Instead of asking how much you need to save for retirement, you ask how quickly you can become financially independent. Instead of accepting that you'll work for decades, you explore ways to generate income that doesn't require trading time for money. Instead of trusting institutions that profit from your prolonged labor, you build systems that serve your interests. This isn't about becoming wealthy in the traditional sense. This is about escaping the wealth extraction mechanisms that keep you trapped in cycles of work and consumption. The goal isn't to accumulate enough money to live like you're working while not working. The goal is to restructure your relationship with money and work entirely. The people who escape the retirement trap understand several principles that conventional financial advice ignores. First, your primary financial goal shouldn't be saving for retirement. It should be reducing your cost of living below what you can generate from assets rather than labor. This requires thinking differently about housing, transportation, healthcare, and lifestyle choices that most people accept as fixed expenses. Second, inflation makes traditional saving strategies ineffective, so your focus shifts to assets that appreciate faster than currency devaluation. Real estate, businesses, commodities, and other tangible assets that maintain purchasing power over time. Not because these investments are guaranteed to succeed, but because holding depreciating currency is guaranteed to fail. Third, geographical arbitrage becomes essential. The cost of living varies dramatically between locations, but remote work and global communications make location increasingly optional. Living in low-cost areas while earning in strong currencies can accelerate financial independence by decades compared to accepting high-cost metropolitan areas as inevitable. Fourth, skill development focuses on creating value that doesn't scale linearly with time. Instead of trading hours for dollars, you develop capabilities that generate income while you sleep, travel, or pursue other interests. This might involve creating products, building systems, or developing expertise that commands premium pricing. Fifth, tax optimization becomes crucial because the tax system is designed to extract maximum revenue from wage earners while providing advantages to business owners and investors. Understanding how to legally minimize tax liability can increase your effective income by 20 to 30% without earning more money. These aren't revolutionary concepts. These are strategies that wealthy families have used for generations. The difference is that technology has made these approaches accessible to ordinary people who understand that ordinary approaches lead to ordinary results. And ordinary results in the current system mean working until death. But here's what the financial services industry doesn't want you to understand. You don't need millions of dollars to escape the retirement trap. You need enough passive income to cover your basic living expenses. For most people, that number is far smaller than the 1.2 million retirement target because that target assumes maintaining your current lifestyle indefinitely. If your monthly expenses are $3,000, you need $36,000 annually in passive income. At a 4% withdrawal rate, that requires $900,000 in assets. Still substantial, but achievable in 10 to 15 years with focused effort rather than 40 years of hoping the broken system works. If you reduce expenses to $2,000 monthly through lifestyle design and geographic optimization, you need $24,000 annually, requiring $600,000 in assets. If you generate any income from work you enjoy rather than work you endure, the required asset base drops further. The mathematics of financial independence are straightforward. The challenge is psychological. Breaking free from the retirement paradigm requires rejecting decades of programming about how life should progress. It requires accepting that the conventional path leads to predictable failure and choosing uncertainty over guaranteed poverty. This psychological shift is difficult because it means admitting that the authorities you've trusted, the experts you've followed, the system you've participated in, were designed to benefit others at your expense. It means acknowledging that your parents' retirement advice was based on economic conditions that no longer exist. It means recognizing that following the rules leads to losing the game. The retirement system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended. Understanding this truth is the first step toward breaking free from a system designed to keep you working until death. The choice is yours. Accept the rigged game or learn to play by different rules entirely.